Yeah. Where are you? So where are you at, like on average day of views right now on the account? Because you're pretty active on X.
60, 80,000.
Really? What is?
Ish.
And I forget the monetization limit. Like, what is the
Oh,
number?
you need 5 million over 3 months.
Okay, so that would do that, right? Is
Yeah,
that,
I'm
yeah,
I'm close.
you're
I
close.
had it when I was running for the presidency, but I didn't want to get paid money because that's a no-no when you're running for.
So
Can
what
I
is the? What is the?
interject
Real
real
quick before we ask one more question.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
does 5 million views a month like come to, like dollar wise? Like what would that?
Like $100.
Really? Okay. All right. I figured it was like going to be
It's
something
not
low,
really
like,
even worth it, but
No.
it's
really.
just, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I had to. Yeah, Lars Map says with this, ladies and gentlemen. Please follow him
And
Lars,
with that,
at Libertarian Lars on Twitter.
And
Trying
we're
to get
live.
monetized.
That was 50 seconds
We're
ago.
live.
I was scrolling my X feed trying to get caught up, but I don't know that that's ever going to happen.
that's
No, I
not,
don't
that's
think we're ever
not
gonna get caught
possible
up.
right now.
No.
Yeah.
This is the Black Powder Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Marcus Matthews, the only real libertarian, as you can clearly see, as my descriptive term said so, on the only real libertarian podcast that has ever existed in the existence of existence. And today, it's an interesting episode. I have my other brothers with me, my normal guys. You know,
Just normal
unlike
guys.
unlike the
Brother
US,
called me normal in many years.
I still believe in DEI. And, you know, I want this to be an inclusive podcast. So I've brought in some of the hillbilliest of rednecks that I could find in the libertarian world.
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged on that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll go with the
And then we bring in the dash of class with Lars Mapstead. That's
Yeah.
who brings the
Oh
class
man, I
in.
don't know if I class anything.
I think you do, man. I think you do. I think, obviously. So I got to ask you, man, like you've kind of in the past, like it seems like a couple weeks, it seems like I've noticed that sort of libertarian circles have like sort of maybe shown you more, like maybe promoted you more, almost like, have y'all noticed that, guys? Like, have you seen like sort of a different sort of vibe?
The
I
national
think it's a little bit of buyer's remorse. I mean, like, without like saying it, I think that people are like, because if you were treated kind of that way back during your, the process of trying to get the nomination, I think you probably would have got it. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot less skepticism of you and a lot more promoting of you, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some new cats running the social media at the Libertarian Party, and I have to say I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot of engagement. They're not delving into stupid stuff. They're just keeping with base messaging and attacking the things that need to be attacked, which is limiting government and reducing the debt and holding the duopoly to the fire. I like that, and I think that they're doing a good job of it. So I hopefully that continues.
Yeah, I mean,
and one of them is a regular commenter and follower of this podcast. I don't know if he wants us to out him. He hasn't commented yet, but you guys probably know who I'm talking about.
Well, why don't you just say who it is? If he follows
Joe Hanoush.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if he comments, it's public, so it's not like it's a big secret or anything. Yeah. So, today I saw, Lars, that like you had a comment. Obviously, if you're listening to this, everyone knows what happened. I think knows what happened today on X between Elon and Trump. You made a comment. I saw that everybody's talking about like the fallout if he was on the Epstein files, if he's not. I'm not really interested in that conversation. I think that's kind of a boring conversation. There's pictures of him with Epstein everywhere. I'm sure at some point in time they hung out, right? But I like that comment that you had about, Elon kind of threw a temper tantrum about the Dragon capsule and SpaceX. And I'm kind of with you on that one. Like, that's something I don't want to see just thrown away because of a thing. But, what did you say? I mean, and I think you said something really interesting about how they should interact or something like that. What did you say exactly? Because it had like I think you were at like 100,000 views on just that comment, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that exact comment, but the Dragon is currently the only way that we can get people to this International Space Station. Like, that's it. That's the US's only possibility, right? And they needed that to rescue those people that were up there, right? And I actually have an uncle who is an astronaut.
Really?
Of course you do.
Of course, Lars does. Of course, Lars does. Yeah.
He was one of the space shuttle pilots, right?
Really?
He was one of the space shuttle pilots.
That's crazy.
When the space shuttle blew up, he was up in the space station, and he got stranded there also for like a long time. So
was that
like
Columbia?
Huh?
Was that Columbia when he was up there?
Challenger.
Yeah.
Right. And so he was, or Challenger. So he was up there.
I don't think ISS was built during Challenger, was it?
It may, because it's been up there a while.
He was
I don't
up
know.
there.
He knows. The astronaut knows.
Oh yeah, I forgot there was
there.
a couple of them that blew up, but the first thing that came to mind was Challenger because my 8th grade teacher was a finalist to go up with them, and we watched it live. And then they turned off the TV and says, "Okay, turn your books to page 42."
There was nothing traumatizing as being raised in the 80s, right?
I mean, it was real.
Yeah, you're like, kids, people died. Okay, get back to work, kids. That's it. Yeah, duck and cover too. The Soviets are going to nuke us next, right?
I was actually told. I said to Musk he should smoke a big doobie and get off of X and go take a chill pill for a little bit because he was just kind of like going bananas and he has businesses to run. He already like burned half his business by going after the left, and now he's burning the other half of the business by going after the right. And it's like I think it's like I think is a little naive when it comes to politics, because if you look at the other billionaires, how they do politics, the Soroses of the world and the Koch brothers and all those kind of guys. I mean, yeah, we all know that they do shady stuff in the background or whatever, right? But they do it through proxy. You don't ever see them up there on stage being like, this is what we're going to do. It's like, because they got business and they want to protect their business. So they just hire other people to be their mouthpiece. And then they
having a Twitter war with another CEO.
It's like, bro,
like, screw you.
on.
You know what?
Don't you have some robots to build or something like that? Because I'm pretty sure you're trying to build a robot army, AI robot army that, like, I don't know how that guy has all the energy to do all the things he does. It's insane, really.
Well, according to I think the Washington Post or Forbes, Adderall, ketamine, and they said magic mushrooms, and they said this was funny, Lars. Okay, so the title of it was that he was on hard drugs, and it said Adderall, ketamine, magic mushrooms, and that he had been taking ecstasy. And
that should all be legalized.
And what I said, and I'm sitting there going, none of those are really hard drugs. They're like street party drugs. These aren't really hard drugs, and so that's probably how he has the energy, I think.
Well, Lars, last time we had you on here, I had mentioned that I don't think Elon truly saw what happened to the My Pillow guy, because he went all in on a lot of BS and brought his brand with him. And even Fox News dumped his ass from their advertising partners. And that's what's crazy about this whole situation is there's been a track record of failure when it comes to intermingling direct business with the government. And like you were saying, Soros and they all use surrogates. They're not going to be the face of a particular political movement. And that's why I question his judgment. And I'm not going to say anything about the drug.
I think I'm with Lars on this one. I think that Elon is an engineer, right? And I think he's an engineer, number one, and I think that he is a reluctant businessman, number two, right? And I think that he's had such good ideas and good innovation, had good people around him, that he's been a good business person in that regard. But he definitely is not a politician at all, and I don't think because to be a politician, you have to walk this very fine line. And I know that none of the four of us on this do that very well at all. And so I can only imagine if we had billions of dollars and we're like landing rockets back on their pads and had a case full of Molly. I don't think any of us would probably be very good at politics.
Well, I guess it's going to be quite a party on Mars when he finally gets to Mars. It's going to be like, well, what did you ship? Well, we shipped 3 superstar ships full of ketamine and 2 superstar ships worth of mushrooms, and there's just a bunch of robots. So it's like me, 5,000 robots, and a kilo of MDMA.
What if magic mushrooms terraform Mars? What if that's what we do it?
No. It would be weed because it would turn the carbon dioxide into oxygen.
Oh, see, there you go. Terraforming with marijuana.
I think we have to have the fungus first because I think it could probably survive it.
Well, I mean, we could do spears. Northern spear, wheat, southern spear.
It's a whole biome. It's a new kind of it's a drug. It's a twofer. It's a drug biome that like colonizes Mars, basically.
I just want to real quick for a legal standpoint of what we just discussed. This is our idea. We've already patented it.
That's right.
So
and all the plans and materials are at Marcus's house. If anybody's wondering,
we are sole proprietors of make Mars the drug base of the universe.
So here's I got a question for Lars too, because Lars is very financially savvy. Where do you think? Obviously, Tesla stock today had a big hit, right? Like 16% down, I think.
Monster hit.
That's a big drop. I mean,
it was $150 billion a market cap loss. And remember, he only spent like $100 and something million on the campaign.
Yeah.
So can you like $150 billion?
It's been a wild, it's been a wild ride. It seemed like the first of the year, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't looked at the chart in a while. I want to say the first of the year, Tesla's trading just under 300. Does it get up to like 450 at its high?
Correct.
Then the left goes against him. It goes back down to 200.
Yeah,
right?
Like 220. Yep.
220, and then now, and so it just reached another little sort of interim
350.
lower high, 350.
Yeah.
And so, where do you think this? I mean,
and now we're at 275.
The Elliott wave theory would be a big ABC, right? And that the C would equal the A. And so, if that's the case, you're looking at sub 200 before it bottoms.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't think it's going to get under 200. I just don't. So the thing is we have robotaxi like right now, like it's rolling right now, and they just got approved in California.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to get an announcement in the next couple weeks about basically a robotaxi app that is going to compete head to head with Uber, and that anybody with a certain Tesla car that has full self-driving will be able to put their car onto the app as a Tesla Uber.
Damn. Do you want to? Who would want? I wouldn't want to do that with my Tesla.
Well, I would buy one just to use it to make money.
Dude, you better like Rhino line the inside of that
That's
thing.
The one. Like what he just said is like everybody. The thing is like, you know, I said this literally for 15 years since I thought about autonomous cars, was that, you know, most cars are just sitting idle in people's driveways.
Right. It's
most of the time, right?
All the time.
So,
right.
And like, if you're not working that day and you know you don't need your car, you just loan it out and you make a few bucks off of it, right? And like you said, your car could come back, you know, but you're going to have insurance, you know, you're going to have like things that can, you know, negate that or whatever. So I think we're going to see some kind of announcement in the next couple weeks about an app that like lets you loan out your car and directly
There are already apps that let you do that with regular combustion cars.
Yeah, like Turo. But
but this is gonna be Tesla
for self-driving. Yeah.
But now I got it. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this a little bit, because to me it sounds like that actually the idea sounds very good and easy, and typically it is, but then government gets in and screws things up, right? So I'm already seeing the government impediments here. Like number one, the insurance industry and the regulators, right? Like there is a difference between personal insurance for a vehicle and commercial insurance. Yeah. And that argument is already being hashed out amongst the states at state levels based on Uber already, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure that out.
Like who's responsible? Is the company responsible? Or
is a passenger
the company,
responsible?
I think carries insurance also on top of the insurance, that, like a rider or an umbrella policy or something like that. I'm sure.
And then there's, of course, I think there's several police unions that have raised concerns about self-driving cars because they can't get their revenue from arresting people. Like if you're passed out drunk in your driver's seat, but you're not driving.
The road pirates are done, bro.
Yeah, I mean, they might be.
They're done. This is the end of the CHP or whatever you call it in your state, where the police, the highway patrol police, they're all done. Like there is going to be no reason for them, and not only that, but the DMV of every state is gone. Because autonomous robots cars don't really need to be registered, right? Like there's really not anything, especially if it's all just one company. They're just like.
So what about, like, you know, right now we're sort of an anti-China sort of, you know, zeitgeist in America, right? But there's a competitor for the robotaxi space in the Asian market, Pony AI.
BYD.
And Pony AI is like, I think they're getting a contract right now with like in Shenzhen. They're about to roll out theirs.
Yep,
And I think
theirs is really good too.
Yeah,
they're definitely right on the money with where Musk is at. And I went to I was in San Francisco a couple weeks back, actually meeting with Thomas Massey. And
yeah, screw you, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I know.
And quit acting like you're cool. We don't care.
But the thing that was interesting to me about that was I hadn't been to San Francisco in a while. I really never go there. It's like a cesspool, and I don't really like it at all.
Yeah.
But within like a 20 block period, I saw a Waymo driving people around on every block.
Wow.
Like on every block. And then I watched something or read something today about Waymo. They've just served their 10 millionth ride in San Francisco. And they are now 25% of the rideshare market, which and they don't have that many cars there. Like,
what is the concern though from like a civil liberties and just freedom perspective? You're a car guy. I'm a car guy. You're a much bigger car guy than I am. I mean, obviously, you're not getting rid of your internal combustion cars. You're going to keep those, right?
Yeah, I am. But I think, it's as the technology gets better, it's probably just going electric. I mean, that's just the way that it's going to be, And,
and so where are we at on the grid? Where do you think? Because I mean, we're even having trouble in red states,
100%.
right? Like Arkansas is still doing okay with capacity.
Yeah, I don't think
Louisiana
that's a red or blue thing. I think that's just like, is your state stuck at energy or not, right?
Right.
But you know what? It's like, okay, here's a crazy freaking stat for you. China right now is building an entire America worth of energy every 18 months.
We can just end the podcast right there, guys. It's over. It's nice knowing y'all. We know who's going to end. Who goes winning World War III? I mean, that's a crazy number.
And we're stuck battling in culture wars.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
But one thing about the robocars, though, I think it does equal liberty, because 80% of police investigations typically start from somebody getting pulled over. Now, if your robocar is following all traffic laws and it's government registered or whatever the hell it is, police aren't going to have a damn reason to pull you over.
You're right. Traffic interdictions. I mean, like Lars said, I can't tell you I don't know what the percentage is in your state, but I know in mine, I bet you 95% of all arrests initiate with a traffic stop here.
Yeah.
Whether it's, a warrant or, whatever. But here's the other thing. Does the facial recognition thing come in? The regulators come in and say, hey, when passengers get in, you can have automated cars, but you have to be able to facially recognize them. We want you to send us the data. We want to check them for warrants for the safety of the community,
I think the sad thing, I was talking to somebody about this earlier, and I think that genie's already out of the bottle and never going back in, that we are going to a full surveillance state where basically cameras are everywhere. And I was on a podcast last night and I was talking about this, and I was like, look, if you want to be not in a surveillance state, then you move to a very rural area where there's not cameras on every street corner, where there's not, they don't put cameras in the trees. You know what I mean? Like they put cameras.
I've seen them out in the woods.
I've seen them. That's too much ketamine and mushrooms.
Hey, I get enough. I see all the cameras out there. Okay,
I've seen them.
Planeteer? Is that what you're? Palantir.
PLTR.
Palantir.
That's because I was reading and looking at that this week because Spike had mentioned it and Lars had mentioned something to that effect, I believe. But that to me, that's like Minority Report, where they're detecting stuff before it happens based on your social. They're looking at every single aspect of your life, combining that, and the AI is telling them, hey, this guy may be going through bankruptcy in the next couple of years, and he's very angry on Facebook and Instagram and X.
And 2 years ago, he bought a bunch of ammunition, and he visits this library and checks these books out. And he gets on the Black Powder podcast. Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
That's all coming. That's all coming. And like this kind of all started with credit scores, where they started like getting all their data together, and then they were like, okay, you're a good business thing or you're not a good business thing, because you like if you don't participate in the system, you could be a multimillionaire but if you don't have a credit score, you ain't getting a loan, right? Like
Exactly.
So you're like basically forced to participate in the system if you want to like buy a house or like, get a car loan or something like that. It's like, yeah, that stuff's all there. I don't really see it going away. I think that's just going to come. And it's like, there's not really a way to beat it down, honestly.
That's why sanctions work.
I said, I remember I related back to COVID, and I remember kind of watching the business news and telling my friends, hey guys, it's crazy what's going on in China right now. They're literally like locking their citizens in their houses and they're welding the doors shut. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy, draconian, authoritarian stuff. I mean, I'm so glad I live in America where we would never lock anybody down, man, because we're not authoritarian like those Chinese mother. No, wait, what? I gotta stay in my house. What are you talking about right now?
You can't be on the beach alone watching the sunset.
You can't. I said, in my crazy neck of the woods, Santa Cruz, California, they were so crazy. I'll just tell you the one thing that like always is in my brain when I think about this. I went to this state park and I was like, I'm gonna go for a hike out in the woods with my kids and get some fresh air and like enjoy the outdoors and stuff, And I get up there and they're like, the park's full. And it's like a 40,000 acre redwood forest in a mountain, right? I'm like, the park's full. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So they're like, you have to wait until some cars leave and then you can go in. I'm like, okay. And I said, how long is it be? And they said, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. So we waited. I pull into the parking lot and I'm like, well, of course there's no room to park because they were social distancing the cars. Every other spot was empty because the freaking California cars give you COVID, bro. It's gonna jump out at you and attack you. It's gonna get you, and then you're gonna die. And you're gonna take home to grandma. And
your bumper 6 feet away from the other bumper.
Hey, Lars, as your fellow Californian, I want to qualify that statement right there and say that COVID-19 was more dangerous than any mountain lion or black bear that we have in the wilderness. And for you to second guess the thought process of Gavin Newsom,
if it says,
I find it treason.
One line.
Yeah.
You mean the same Gavin Newsom who was like at the French Laundry whining and dining all his people with no mask on, but telling us we needed to stay in our freaking house because it was too dangerous to leave?
Are you going against our governor?
COVID's only for peasants.
And his aunt Nancy Pelosi, who like told us all we couldn't possibly leave our house, but she went and got her hairs did in San Francisco.
I'm glad.
Like Gretchen Whitmer that shut the lake down and then went with her family on the boat. They're the only people in the whole lake. Yeah, like nobody's going to notice. Yeah,
screw those people.
Lars Manstead for governor.
I'm telling you, elitist class that is functioning within our so-called government. Are you saying that they are not like us? They not like us.
I would never spread such propaganda ever.
Never. No, he's just a working man with a bulldozer behind him. That's why, just every day.
My condolences, Tub. I'm sorry, bro.
Tub, we were very sorry about that.
Yeah. That's horrible.
No. I'm going to tell you that because we did this last week. These are the comments that make me mad because I do not understand why you have time to comment, but you don't have time to be here. So.
Yeah. He's got his own thing going on. That's what he said, He just got his own thing.
Tub is going to the Libertarian Party of Florida convention.
Dude,
it's not in Jacksonville this year. That was last year. It's in Daytona Beach. So
okay.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying, Tub, pull over on the side of the road and hop on live. Go ahead.
Yeah. So speaking of conventions and political parties, that's an interesting way that this conversation between Elon and Trump turned today. Mm-hmm. Now, what's funny is, for those that don't know, I worked for Lars on his campaign for president. I was on his policy team, so we talked a lot, and we had I think weekly meetings and talked about stuff, and we sort of had like some fun conversations prefiguring this, right? Of like what it would look like if a real billionaire backer got in and finally got fed up with the duopoly. Are we at that moment, or is this just the rants and ravings of a guy that's going to calm down and not follow through?
I don't know that we're at that moment, but we certainly should be working to make that happen. Because the thing is that I was just listening to Larry Sharp. He did a 2-hour rant on this.
Of course he did.
And and I was feeding him info earlier in the day and whatnot. And but the thing is if we had $10 million, $15 million, our entire political system at the Libertarian Party would be a completely different animal. Like we would literally be able to run people all across the country. We would be able to back them actually financially. We'd be able to pick races like yours that you ran and like really put real money behind it and have a real chance at winning House seats and Senate seats, which is like basically what you need to do. We're not winning the presidency, but what we could do is get a foothold in Congress and then show people that we're principled and that we are fighting for limited government and and basically reducing the debt and getting our fiscal house on track and then reducing the tyranny and the authoritarianism of basically the duopoly. And if we did that, then we have an opportunity to win the presidency down the road. But yeah, we need money. Like that's the bottom line.
I just pulled up. I was going to ask you if y'all knew how much Elon's PAC raised, and Google AI says Elon Musk basically he contributed $238 million to his super PAC.
Yeah.
And they raised $263 million. In addition to America PAC, Musk also contributed to another PAC called RBG, funding it with $20.5 million.
So quick pen to paper math.
We'll take that 20.5 and run with it.
So let's say that it was $20 million, 10% of that, like in an annual for let's say for phase 1, 2 year, 2026, $20 million is applied to running local candidates, right?
Yeah.
And let's say that you're running, I don't know, 10 per state. So you got like 500 candidates, maybe 2 at like a state rep, state senate level, and then several that are lower levels. What does that come to per candidate that could be applied? I mean, I don't think
you'd want to do it like that. What I think you'd want to do is you'd really look through all the candidates and you'd figure out the ones that have the most likelihood of winning based on the number of people, and like you do some real analytics on it and you really figure out like 10 candidates to back, because you're not gonna get like I mean, obviously give people some money on the down, but really focusing most of the energy on a couple of races, I think is going to be
the challenge, though, if we think about it, is from there's a political party part, a PAC part, right? Candidate finance laws. I mean, and PACs can't really have a lot of conversations with the candidate, right? It's like one conversation to vet, and they don't talk anymore. Yeah. Like I know, for instance, let's just talk about like my race, like $30,000, I think was like just a ground game could be run for $30,000. And like you could blitz the TV for $30,000.
Yeah.
And so like $100,000 would have just been like, I mean, everywhere, right? I mean, if you could do that, and if you have 50 viable candidates, you could have 50 state reps. If you hit 50% of them, you got 25 in a cycle. That's crazy.
Yeah. It would be big if we could get that. I mean, it's really, and I've been talking to the people on the LNC about basically that they can't really rely on mega donors to fund this stuff. That what they have to do is get a recurring revenue base so that they, because that's going to be long lasting. Mega donors get burnt out. Mega donors change. I mean, look at Elon. Do you think he's going to be backing a bunch of Republicans the next time around? With
no,
probably not, right?
But it's hard as far as libertarians goes, because like my guy Kenneth said, he reached out to Elon about local libertarian candidates. So did the Black Powder podcast. Today I said it's time that you look at the Libertarian Party, because we're the only party that believes in fiscal responsibility.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, Marcus.
Okay.
I saw several comments today that were like, "Hey, Elon, you don't need to start a new party. There is a party for you." And I saw several comments from people that were like, "No, maybe it's time to get a new one because the LP has sort of burned its brand name. It's kind of like Jack in the Box after E. coli or whatever." I think that was one of the comments I saw. That it had like burned its brand name, and we need the same principles but under a new name and a new banner. And I think even like shortly after that, Being Libertarian put out a tweet, and it was like the American Liberty Party or something like that, had like an eagle or logo or something. would you, if another party sprung up that was well funded, that was interconnected, had a PAC side of it, sort of a an activist side of it, a ballot access side of it, sort of like this multi-tentacled sort of thing, and well funded, had same principles of liberty, self-ownership, limited government, fiscal responsibility, let people live their own lives so long as they aren't hurting anybody, all those things. Would you be willing to consider yourself no longer the only real libertarian, but the only real American Liberty Party member?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. That's all you need. That's the endorsement right there.
I'll throw something there because I was throwing this around on X today, and that is, and obviously I pushed this a bit in my campaign, but now in my Voting Rights Foundation, votingrightsfoundation.org, and also my More Voter Choice thing, is that I want to put forth this idea that we don't need parties.
Yeah.
That if we basically create jungle primaries, we get rid of gerrymandering, we get rid of winner-take-all laws, we get rid of ballot access, issues, and basically level the playing field so that any independent can run and have the exact same level playing field as a Republican or a Democrat, then you really don't need a party, right? You could run, like the reason Kennedy ended up having to form parties is because the states have such a rigged system that there's no way to actually get on the ballot unless you're in a party. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you forced to be in a party in order to run for office, right?
Lars, I thought about you the other day, by the way, and I sort of summoned your words to a conversation that I had with somebody. There's a little bit of, like, in most states that have sort of a single party, unicameral legislature sort of thing. There's always really two parties, right? There's always some infighting going on, right? And so there's been a couple of personalities in my state that have sort of been ostracized and or kicked out of a certain party here in the state. I won't say which one. And there's been some questions arising about, like, is this a civil rights violation? Should they be able to sue? And the argument has come up from people on the other side. Well, we're a private organization. That's what they say. And we're a private organization. We can do what we want. And so I said, well, hold on, just one second. If you're so private, why are all the people of Arkansas funding the selection of your candidates? Because I'm taxed. It don't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, non-voter, doesn't matter. You're paying taxes in my state at the end of a gun, to fund the mechanism that selects them. So I thought that was that was a Larsism that came out because we talked about that many times. Do you think that's really viable? Do you think are we going to be forced to fight it in the party matter, or do you think that really 50 states of ballot access change is a thing that can really happen?
I think that, so we're finding that we're actually having some movement in states with my Voting Rights Foundation and More Voter Choice. We're like getting traction in several states in getting them to change their ballot access laws. We have litigation, we have lobbying, we have literally legislation written for all 50 states right now, ready to go. So we're looking for sponsors in every state that want to, like, basically level the playing field as far as ballot access goes. And then I'm going to be attacking gerrymandering and winner-take-all laws and multi-member proportional districts and, that sort of thing. But yeah, we literally have private corporations running our country, running our elections. And it's even worse than that because they also control the judiciary. Mm-hmm. So basically the two private corporations pick who's going to be the judge. Now, the judge isn't going to rule against them because if they rule against them, they're not going to get the next higher level of judgeship, right? So they're basically beholden to the corporations, to these private corporations. And yeah, we're taxpayers are running it. And look, this last election showed that the entire primary system is a sham anyway. Right? Because they literally said, oh, no, Joe Biden's on the primary in New Hampshire and Maine or whatever. And you can't vote for anybody else. Oh, we're going to try to get rid of Donald Trump off the primary system in Colorado and and Maine or whatever. So they were all playing monkey business, even with the other party. And it's like, at some point, they suppressed Kennedy so much that he went independent. The Dean Phillips guy, he's a wealthy venture guy or business guy, and they just sidelined him and they just said, no, Kamala's our chick and we're just picking her. They didn't give the people an opportunity. So okay, well, wait, if you can just pick Kamala and just put her in the thing, like you said, why are we voting? Why are we doing this charade where we all dutifully show up to do our civic duty and vote when it's a private company? They're going to pick whoever they want anyway. What the hell? Like, it's such a sham, and I swear, even though everybody saw that, 2026, people are going to show up to the primaries and be like, I got my guy, I'm going to vote for him, and we're going to I'm going to make the change, bro. And it's like, no, you're not. You're living in a complete sham, and then you wonder why it doesn't work, and you wonder why the two parties don't ever fix anything, right?
Well, it's the
eternal optimism of stupidity that Americans have deep in their soul, thinking this time it's going to be different. And I want to get to Dee's point. Dee's question. Lars, do you have a website yet for?
Yeah. So, votingrightsfoundation.org is the new website that just got put up, and so that's one that I'm working on right now and pushing. And so that one is basically about educating. We're going to be doing a lot of advertising on social media. You're going to start seeing ads for basically what we're pushing, which is that these people are suppressed. And if you what I realize is people they have their candidate, like they don't really care about ballot access unless it's affecting their guy.
That's right.
Gal,
yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Once it's affecting their guy or gal, they're like, this system is broken and it's unfair. And I want to pay money to make it fixed. Right. And so I realized what I need to do is tell the stories of all the people that have been suppressed, right? Tell Kennedy's story, even tell Trump's story, and Dean Phillips and Jill Stein and Chase Oliver and Larry Sharp and all the people who have been suppressed, even Ross Perot, right? In 1992, I voted for Ross Perot. They gave him the shaft. Ron Paul, they absolutely gave Ron Paul the shaft, right? And so, we're going to be pushing these stories and educating people that the primary system is a sham, and that if you ever want to actually affect any change in American politics, we have to stop these two private parties from running our elections and our country.
So go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to, so I think we can all agree, maybe the North Star is abolish political parties, and the founding fathers even said that, right? Or was it George Washington in his farewell speech, whatever? Political parties be the death of this country. Or something
George Jefferson. He said he's moving up. To
George Jefferson. Yeah. But I feel like, and to call back to Tubbs' point, he says, I'm in for the new party. So did Marcus Matthews. He can get rid of that, the only real libertarian, off of his moniker. But seriously, though, I also would be excited about a new competitive party that has the same ideals. Even whenever I was looking at leaving the Republican Party, I looked into the Constitution Party, but I was like, they didn't have the ballot access that the Libertarian Party has. And that's still, I want to say, Kennedy spent a $50 million on ballot access or some ridiculous number. He spent $8 million in the month of May. You know what I mean? Got $8 million from Nicole Shanahan. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing, when you create a new political party, you have to be aware of the hurdles you're going to face. And also, our North Star being to get away from political parties, we need, what Lars is fighting for, ballot access, the voter bill of rights, all of that. You got to get that passed in each state. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that I'm actually fine with political parties existing. I'm not saying to make them go away. What I'm saying is that if you don't want to be in a political party, you should have the equal shot at achieving office. You can still be in a political party, but if you want to run as an independent, you should be able to do that. And if you want to run in a political party, you should have the same rules as the other political parties. That's all I'm saying is I don't think you're going to stop people from, voluntarily associating with a group of people and building their power base and that sort of stuff. I think that's fine. It's just that when you're running this sham of election system and pretending the people have a choice and that this is some form of republic or something like that, when it's just a complete and utter BS, it's corporate
oligarchy.
We have to put a stop to that.
Would it be easier for Elon to just be like, hey, look, here's the Libertarian Party. We have ballot access. We agree. I bet most people that voted for Trump because of Elon are probably more libertarian leaning. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say, like, I've always thought of Elon as a libertarian, a tech libertarian, you know.
I don't know. He's taking a lot of government money.
Yeah, but,
I mean, I wouldn't say no to it either. I'm just saying.
Exactly. That's my point. Is like he's
What if he like came up with his top 5 things that he was interested in achieving politically, like, you know, balanced budget, you know, getting the waste and fraud out of government. Like, maybe it's as simple as like, do you agree to support DOGE and any cuts that we find in government? And if you do, I'll back you. And then it's not, and then it's not necessarily about like the party. It's about like, hey, do you support these things that I support, whatever they are? So, and then if you do, you can get the money. And if you don't, you don't get the money.
Like from inside baseball, at least on small county affiliates of the major parties, at least in my state, what happens really is like if you really end up not being like one of them, you know, and following one of their things, they end up, you know, basically pushing you out again in the primary system the next go around, right? So I think that, to me, that's where you can pull the Jenga tower down, is if it was the primary system wasn't publicly funded, you know, that people were selecting their candidates by some other method, they could go pull straws. I mean, you can do, if you're a private company, you could literally go outside and throw spaghetti on a wall and say, whoever gets the most, that's the person, that's the candidate. It wouldn't matter, right? And they could be on the general ballot. So let's say we get through all that. What do we do about in general elections with gerrymandering districts? Every 10 years, we're going to fight that civil war.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think by 2030 you could have that sort of impetus to get that really done, or do you think this is a 2040 conversation?
The thing is, you know, remember, we in the policy team, we talked about this. We looked at gerrymandering, and like I remember like taking a pretty deep dive in it for like, you know, 3 or 4 days of really like looking at it. And you know, there's a lot of white papers from, you know, really smart people at MIT and, you know, different schools and different thoughts that have like delved into this and figured out the best ways to do, you know, to basically configure districts to make them the most fair and not have this continuous thing where they're like, oh, this election we need to carve out 3 more people so that it flips this county to whatever.
So what happens if they get redistricted on demand because of a flaw or security flaw in the system that exists in 32 states?
If they get redistricted,
yeah, you know, like there might be a security flaw in one of the major voting systems that's used in this country.
Yeah,
that people can be redistricted on demand. Is that something?
I don't know. I never heard of such a thing. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you think that goes on in America, Michael?
I think it might. I might know an election commissioner that might have knowledge of it. Yeah.
Huh. That's
America.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, there is ways to make sure that that's not happening, and I think that should be the case, especially in your particular case. It's
I didn't say me. I don't know who I heard it from.
It's pretty clear there's shenanigans going on, and you know, there's you know, we have a lot of smart people.
Next person that says shenanigans.
I really sort of said that tongue in cheek. I think that here's where I've kind of realized is, like, you know, running a local campaign. I know Eric knows this too. Knocking on thousands of doors, getting out there, meeting people. A lot of the people you meet that would be like the best supporters, they don't vote at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like the people who are most distrustful of authority, most distrustful of the system, most independent, the people that you'd really kind of want as your countrymen and constituency, they don't vote.
You know why they don't vote? Those smart people don't vote because they understand that it is just a BS game. And like, why would they want to participate in a sham primary that isn't even like beholden?
I mean, the general too, really. I mean, so like, how do we get, because we could overload the system as it is now. Like, you know, I mean, you could do it with enough people. I mean, what does they say? Too big to rig, you know, I mean, and as you know, the system is rigged in multiple ways. Marcus and I talked about it last week. Like the 5 ways that elections are rigged. Yeah, exactly. And only a couple of them are really mathematically cheating. The others are, like you said, the media, ballot access, gerrymandering.
Eric, when voting districts look like fish skeletons, Americans need to understand one fact, that they're not choosing their politicians. Their politicians are choosing
100%.
them.
100%.
And that's where a lot of Americans have this fallacy of like, we live in a democratic republic where I'm choosing the person I vote. No, you're not. Like that one meme that where that guy say, "No, you're not. You're not. You're not part of this process.
Yeah.
This is a joke." And until we have a honest third and fourth choice, neither do
I'd like a second choice. I'd like just two choices, to be quite honest.
Two choices, one choice right now.
Yeah, but a libertarian and a non-libertarian.
Two choices is one more choice than you get in North Korea. We need a third and fourth choice because the duopoly does not have to be honest with you on shit.
I think that's an important point, though. Distinction, Marcus, is like most places. What we're talking about with gerrymandering and single member districts is because the way they're drawn, you don't really have a choice. Like in my state, the Republican's going to be the governor, right? And in my congressional district, the Republican's going to be the person that wins. So there's not a second choice. The Democrats might as well not run. I had a Democrat one time on the state capitol step says, "I don't understand why you libertarians run any candidates. You never win any races in this state." And I looked at her and I said, "I don't know why the hell y'all run any candidates. You don't run any races in this state. We just spend less money to not win races in this state." You know what I mean? It's the same thing. So yeah.
Michael Voss is right on that for sure.
Reality is 8 out of 10 voting primaries in general party system would not work as it does, but apathy results in 3 or 4 out of 10 voting in PACs unions override that 100%. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
He's on it.
Well, and here's the thing, though, like in local elections, what's the voter turnout like? 20% or 30%? You know what I mean?
30%, 40%,
compared to
50,
compared to a national level race, and there's a reason why your local elections are not in the same voting year usually as your major races, because you're gonna get a bunch more people to show up because that election is blasted all
or you do the
over
opposite,
TV
Eric. Like
internet.
you run the candidates in the major years, and when you want something that's unpopular, you do a special election
exactly.
that nobody knows, right? Because like they just did it in North Little Rock. They're like, we want a new tax. Nobody's like, we want a tax. They're like,
didn't you
we
say
want
like
a special
800 people showed up and voted in that or something?
Less than 10% of the registered voters in the place. There's 30,000, 3,000 voted, and 3,000 people determined a tax increase for the other 27,000. Because the other 27,000 probably didn't know. And of course, and again, you got the media that's like in with the people that are at the party and they want this. And so the media didn't tell people. And, we can send out a press release from the commission and say, hey, there's, it won't matter. If it doesn't get run on the TV and doesn't hear, then people just don't know.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
So why didn't Insider Baseball, not trying to call out your local Republican Party, but why didn't the local Republican Party send out mailers and be like, yo, they're trying to raise taxes on you? You know
that's
what
a good question.
Like it would have cost. Well, I mean, like, I'm not accusing your local Republican Party of being a bunch of statists, but maybe they wanted more revenue for their.
I think that what I've found in the reason I love libertarian affiliates and state parties is I find the most people that are willing to kind of argue both sides of things. You meet a lot of those people. You meet people who are very open and welcoming. You meet people a lot of times, even though there's a libertarian purity test, they'll still like welcome you, be your friend, that kind of thing. And some of these, like, these sort of major parties, it's really like they've become these really entrenched groups of personalities where it's like a room full of people that just want to hear themselves talk and argue. And, they, raise contention with even like if the motion to approve the minutes. I have an issue on page 4 and 36 seconds in. I think he said but, and you have it as and I don't think that's correct. And that comes into a 45-minute long argument. And that really happens like all across this country. That's what's going on. And I think the major parties, like the corporations, RNC and the DNC, are perfectly happy to have that happen because nothing actually gets checked.
Can I point one thing out? During the Trump administration, Nancy Pelosi had a 1 or 2 vote majority in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, Kamala was the tiebreaker.
Well, that was in the Senate, but I'm talking about the House. Nancy Pelosi did not have one Democrat stray from their narrative or her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're good at it.
And that's
that's not true. They had Manchin and Sinema were like going all the time. Remember that?
Right, but when it came to voting on anything, and then the Republicans, they do have a few, if I could say this, black sheep.
Hey now, Marcus. Wait a second. Yeah.
In there. And you will also see that on the Supreme Court where so-called conservative justice will side with the so-called liberal justices. So obviously the Republican Party is a tad bit more flexible on issues than the Democratic Party. But at the same time, imagine if we had a party that brought in another 10-15% of the total vote that could sway legislation one way or another. And that's the small goals that we should be looking at as far as the Libertarian Party or a fourth party, a new party, which, I think Elon and guys like Lars, who I wrote down a note. You remind me what you were saying of John Adams, because he stood up for the British at the Boston Massacre and said they deserved a fair trial, and he represented them as such, and he got them off. That's the type of people we need to have, where everybody has an equal place at the table, whether you're on the right side or maybe even the wrong side, but you have an equal opportunity at justice and prosperity. That's all we need to have. And that's why I want to thank you, Lars, for coming on here. It's not the end, but I just want to make that point real quick.
I appreciate that. Yeah. One thing too about the whole primary thing that I wanted to point out is that in California, we had a special election for governor, and it was interesting because it's not the regular setup. So everything was a little bit janky, and we ended up having something like 500 candidates on the ballot. Right.
It's a nightmare from a commission standpoint.
and so we had 500 candidates on the ballot,
including Gary Coleman.
A lot of people say, like, oh, Lars, if we had, 20 presidential candidates on the ballot, people would be confused and they wouldn't know how to vote. And I'm like, we had 500 candidates. And
what did it end up with as like the percentage though with 500? I'm interested. Was it
like 99% of them got nothing? And then people found their two candidates that they wanted, and they voted for them.
Were those the two?
It was basically Gavin Newsom and or was it Arnold Schwarzenegger? I can't remember.
That was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay,
that was Gray Davis. It was Gray Davis.
Yeah,
and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
We had two of them.
Gary Coleman.
Now, so the Supreme,
right.
as you know, Lars, the Supreme Court has so ruled that states and local municipalities, even with the Voting Rights Act, can ascertain reasonable amount of public interest in an individual before letting them on the ballot. That's already like Supreme Court precedent, right? So that's a real open-ended question though, right? Reasonable amount of interest.
Well, it's that's the problem is every state gets to decide, right? But and I feel like that's fine. I mean, I think it's reasonable to say that there needs to be some weeding process to like weed out just people who are just doing it for the lulls of it or whatever, right? But like one thing is that when I was running for president, there is a FEC rule that after you've raised $5,000, you have to become a reporting candidate, and you have all these other rules that come with being a $5,000 thing, which raising $5,000 is like nothing. Like if you can't raise $5,000 as a presidential candidate, then you're not serious at all. Like even an idiot can raise $5,000, right? And so out of 1,000-something people,
we're not idiots.
Out of the 1,000-something people that were running in 2024, only about 75-ish maybe hit that $5,000 mark. And so I think that would be a reasonable thing to weed people out. And then the thing is I think 75 people on a ballot is totally reasonable. And people can all have websites, and people can go look up their people and do their thing. And, they're still going to vote. I think that also showed that they're still going to vote 99% for the duopoly, but it does level the playing field. And then I think that you have a primary like that. And I think this is particularly poignant for president. You have 75 people on the primary ballot, and it's a jungle primary. Those 75 people are on the ballot in all 50 states. Okay. And they take the top 10 vote getters, and they let those top 10 are automatically in debates, and they hold a certain number of debates for all the people to listen to the top 10 people. And maybe there's like, maybe after 5 debates, they cut them in half or something like that. If there's like just no polling or there's no nothing for the people. But I think that like, it would be so much better to have 10 voices that were not part of the two-party system, that we're not captured by the corporations, and listen to those voices, because even if those people didn't make it to, to the final run, they would help shape the other candidates, because they would be the voice for the people that are not represented, right? And so I think we need that, and that's my whole goal in Voting Rights Foundation, is to literally create a free market in American politics so that we have competition. Right. Because competition breeds excellence. And right now we have no competition at all. None. They have it completely locked down. So they don't have to put forth good candidates. They just have to put forth an acceptable candidate that isn't not as bad as the other person.
Not even. They just have to put up somebody. If they got it rigged like to the numbers, they're like, we just have to have a guy with the right letter behind his name that's going to do what he's saying, and he's going to win. He can be terrible. I mean, he could literally have an IQ of 50, right? And like, if he will just do what we say, if he can still follow orders. I feel like all the good people never make it past primary. And I mean, all the really brilliant people that you sit down and you go like, this guy gets it, or like they can have broad-reaching conversations, understand depth of policy. Those guys, it's like they never do. It's like, so when we get the Masseys and the Pauls that come through, it's like, how the hell did that happen? Like, they are the exception, not the rule, which is really sad. I mean. Yeah.
Michael also put in there, he was talking about that you can, like, if you self-loan yourself the $5,000, you automatically, and that's what happened to me, is I had put money into my campaign, and then the FEC started calling. They're like, hey, you got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, why do I have to fill out paperwork to like tell people about my stuff if it's my money? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, and
like,
again,
if I raise money from other people, I get that, but not.
And the FEC, in my opinion, is an antiquated entity that doesn't need to exist. Because there's so many loopholes and ways to use money in different ways that it's absolutely, people who play the game the right way, who are getting individual donations, they're stacked against super PACs and people that are pulling money and dark money over here. It's
and not only that, but look, the FEC is partisan. Right.
Absolutely.
It's packed with partisan people. And so they use it as a tool, a weaponized tool, to go after people that they don't like. Right. So a huge example of this is Jill Stein. She's the Green Party chick, right?
Yep.
And she had gotten matching funds from the government. And they gave her something like $200,000 or something of matching funds. And then she spent that on her campaign. And then they came back to her like 6 months or 9 months later, and they're like, oh, hey, you didn't qualify for that $200,000, so you need to give it back. And she's like, bruh, I spent it on the campaign. What are you talking about? And they're like, well, you it's a debt to the government now. You owe it. And she's like, well, I don't have any money. And they said, well, you have a 401k and a pension from your whatever teaching thing, so you could give that up, right?
Wow.
And it was like, to me, that was just like so draconian and so authoritarian. It's like, no, you guys screwed. Even if you screwed up, you can't claw that back from her.
Alex, I like how Joe pointed that out. Yeah, Massey was a local elected official, then ran riding the wave of the Tea Party movement, won re-election based on incumbency. Joe, I think, points out a really, I think, an important point here is, I hate to use the term career politician, but I feel like, that the Liberty movement would do well to begin sort of, I guess, procuring individuals to run for very small local offices and get them that are very talented. So they have a title, they have something, and I think that it's a way better in if you're running for city council and you're already dog catcher so and so, right?
Yeah,
you already have a thing there. So yeah, I like that point.
Yeah,
I want to point this out. Lars for president, some great points there. Obviously,
Yeah,
obviously. And Joe's came
back.
Hey, Lars, have you ever thought about running for president?
I thought about it. Yeah. I thought about it.
Man, that was a lot of fun. Hey. So here's a question for you. I'm just going to throw it out here. Have you thought about doing it again?
Yeah, I'm not doing it again.
Okay.
Just the
that
thing
was
is,
quick,
like,
man. You were like, no.
No. There
was a lot of sacrifice. I saw how much you sacrificed.
Oh, dude, that was.
Hey, Lars.
I didn't come up for air for 3 years, basically.
No, you didn't.
And I burned $1 million of my own money to the ground. Then people yelled at me and said I was being selfish and that I was in it for the money and that I was. And I just was like, wow.
That's a whole freaking statement for people who believe in duopoly.
So you have a very good point. I want to wrap this up with this because I think that it's actually a very interesting example of everything we're talking about, that it could even happen in quote unquote third parties. You said to me one time, I got third partied in the third party, right?
Yeah.
We'll set the stage. We'll go back. So it was what was his name that was going to be? So Rechtenwald, Michael
Yeah.
Rechtenwald, right, was going to be the Mises caucus candidate, right?
Yep.
And so he was the quote unquote lead guy, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of it. And then Chase Oliver was sort of the classical liberal caucus candidate.
Yep.
And then so you got third-partied in the third party, even though I think that on measure, anybody that's being objectively honest would understand you had the most unifying message. You had the most, I think, universal message. You had the best, I personally believe, best run team. You had the most resources. I mean, you got national attention more than the candidates did at the convention because of things you were doing.
Yeah, I think the party didn't want unity.
Well, I think
that was my big thing. Is I thought I could get in there and like play the middle road. And that was, I believe that was my big mistake, is that I thought I could play the middle road and like get everybody to kumbaya together. And what people really wanted was the right left, fight inside the Libertarian Party, right? And it was more about, I want to screw the other side. I don't. The way I win here is by giving the other side what they hate the most.
Right.
And I was not the candidate that they hated the most. Like everybody liked what I was doing.
They did.
And so it was, I played it wrong. I should have picked a side probably. Like if I wanted to win, but that wasn't really my thing. I was trying to do a thing, which was like break the system, stop the 270 and create a conversation in America about how broken our election system is.
And it was absolutely wonderful. I mean, you had Laura Loomer having an epileptic seizure. I mean, I remember her live stream when she said, "I can't believe it says stop 270. I can't believe it." I was like, "Why did you even come here? Like, why are you even here?" It was one of the worst things I'd ever see, because your son was on her live stream with like 500,000 people watching. And it was Lars for president, unrig the system, stop 270, and she was literally having a conniption fit. Like, it was pretty funny, actually. So
okay, we had to have Tub chime in here real quick. I miss my guy Tub because, when I look at his face, it just brings me absolute joy and pride that he's a member of this organization, the only true libertarian organization that has ever existed. Because we can have different ideas and party preferences and stuff like that. That's a shout out to Michael White. But at the same time,
we also accept gay people. Shout out
to Marcus Matthews.
This is Pride Month. I want to thank Michael White and Eric for glory holing me into this podcast.
All right, guys, this is a family friendly podcast.
Wow. Motion to adjourn. Dilatory.
As far as stuff goes, the party does not want unity. Many turned on me because I tried to bring them together. And Tub is one of the most honest individuals I have ever had the pleasure of cyber meeting in my entire life. I'm going to see Lars in person come the end of July. We're going to shake hands. We're going to hang out and talk crap about everybody that's not there, as most libertarians do. But it's amazing to me to get back to why we came all here together today. Who had Trump, Elon beef on their bingo card?
I called it out like many months ago. I said that they would last 6 months because those two egos at some point, like those two egos, one of them would get pissed off at the other one, and it was going to be, this is the outcome. I knew this was coming.
You and I think you have a text with you talking about this 3 months ago. Like, you can't put personalities that big in one room for too long.
No.
Yeah.
And it's like, neither of them ever wants to be wrong. They both value that they're seen as the super smart one. So, I mean, this was inevitable. It kind of happened faster than I thought it would, to be honest with you. I thought it'd be 6 months, but
quick, dude. It was like, I thought you sent, so Eric, you sent me the thing that said, I thought this was fake, and somebody else, like 30 seconds
I did too. Yeah.
And then like 30 seconds after, like everybody was sending it to me, and I was like, oh my goodness, this really happened.
Yeah.
Like, and then, but now it's now 9 o'clock. So this is roughly what? 9 o'clock my time. This is 9 hours ago when this happened, right? Basically, I happened around noon my time. we've already digested it into memes, right? And all this kind of stuff. Is the moment over, Lars? Is the moment over, or does this stay or do we hang on this for a while?
You mean like, do they keep going at each other for a while? I think they're going to keep going at each other for a little bit, but I have a feeling that there's going to be some, backroom deals done and just kind of make it go away as quickly as possible. That's
Sure.
what I think is going to happen. It's like, they ratcheted it up. They're all going to powwow together tonight and be like, hey, what do you need to shut up and go away? I mean, I won't name any names, but there was other people that were in the Republican circles going into the election that essentially got sidebarred and and taken out, and then they were given little consolation prizes.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I think that's what's going to happen. Musk, for all that came, basically, I think that the main reason Musk ended up in the situation and position that he is in is that he met the Goliath of the state, and in every single angle of his businesses, he was meeting resistance that was so frustrating that he wanted to build a bulldozer armored with steel plates.
That's never happened ever.
He was fed up. He was fed up with the FCC, the people that run the space agency, all the different agencies that were just basically stifling his innovation, and he was feeling super flustered, and Biden was just all about crushing him at every angle. So he, as a businessman, as a free market kind of person trying to make his way through the thing, it became very apparent that if he wanted to continue with his businesses, he needed to attack the state. And so this whole thing was him attacking the state and trying to get relief from all these government agencies that were authoritarian, oppressing him. And I think he got most of that accomplished. Now, whether that gets rolled back now or not, but I think that that's the consolation prizes that he'll get to just kind of go away. Is that you get to keep all these different things, and these regulations will be relaxed for you, but you need to go away now. And I think that's kind of how that's.
Is that kind of what when there's a deal with the FCC, he gets a little more spectrum and bandwidth for SpaceX domestically.
Yeah.
So he gets maybe some more purview with launches, a little more area, and then push. Maybe some more deals for some robo taxis in DC, and 100%. Then maybe a couple years from now, he is divesting his interest in Tesla, turning it over to somebody else, who handpicked by Vanguard or BlackRock to be the new CEO. Stock goes to 1,000. He quietly continues space guy. And at that point in time, do we have him in politics again or not? Do you think that he stays in politics at all? Or do you think that today's temper tantrum is a temporary tantrum?
It's a tough call. I think that he has seen just how deep the bureaucratic state is, and just how even with crazy amounts of money and power and political stuff, that the winds turn on you instantaneously in Washington, and that you can go from hero to zero in 30 seconds, right? And so I mean, I hope that he's smart enough to learn from this, that if he is going to be in politics, like I said earlier, to do proxies, to do, fund super PACs, not be the face of it. And, then he'll get some heat, but he won't be the face of it. And they won't be attacking him as much. I mean, look, when I was running my businesses, I was often asked to take political positions in my businesses. They're like, you need to back this. This is unjust. This is bad, whatever. And I was like, I'm not backing any political thing with my business. That's political. That's business suicide. You're going to lose half of your business immediately, unless your business is about pandering to one partisan group or another. You're a fool to participate in politics while you're in business.
Unless you can get the government as your customer, and then you only need one customer.
Okay, well,
and that's the U.S. government. And so,
fair point.
Or if you have enough money, what you can do is you can fund both sides, and whoever wins, you end up.
And most do that. I know.
Michael, that's kind of a callback to a text I sent to the guys, and I said, I don't want to sound crazy, but this is like an Atlas Shrugged moment, and that's kind of the difference between Elon Musk and the pillow guy. He's not making freaking pillows. He's picking up astronauts in space.
Yeah,
and
landing rockets.
and,
Yeah,
and catching rockets with metal chopsticks.
I love.
You know what I mean?
By the way, that's one of my favorite
but
Trumpisms. He's like,
that's
I
my
was
thing
watching it. It looked like a movie. I thought it was a movie. I'd never seen a rocket land. I thought it was a movie. I was like, yeah, man, he's been working on this a long time, dude. Like,
but
yeah.
but what I'm hoping though is that he keeps one toe in the political world, and what I mean by that is he's seen that Thomas Massey and Rand Paul are going to be attacked by MAGA and neocons and everyone, and he should at least be open. He should at least be open to funding them because he agrees with them 100% on all of this. He's been retweeting and sharing all the stuff, saying he supports them, and that's what I love. Is like I'm hoping you're asking like, well, are there going to be concessions and they're going to shake hands and break bread over it? But maybe Elon's just say, hey, back off my dudes, Massey and Paul, leave them alone, endorse them, and make Thomas Massey Speaker of the House, and I'll back off.
And that's good. And this is like the last thing I'm going to say about all this is what I hope that if Elon ever hears this, and he probably won't, but if he does, Elon, what I hope you really focus on is that you're a billionaire and you had a lot of trouble. I want you to think about the guy out there running for city council, the guy out there trying to be, city council at large in Jacksonville, Florida, who has real liberty principles. Think how hard he's got it. Yeah. Those are in my personal opinion, I still believe that local politics is not only the spearhead of where we can make change. I think it's the place we can actually fundamentally do it. But they have the biggest challenges. I mean, again, he got $1 billion, man. $100,000 to some of these local candidates would mean the world to them, and you could really do some damage.
So I just want to say this because we're going to hand it off to Lars for the closing statements of tonight's episode. I just want to say this. America used to be about the best ideas win. And that's a principle that we have strayed from and completely neglected, because now it's about the best culture warrior wins. And how can I make sure my neighbor lives by my values instead of the rugged individualism that this country was supposed to be about? It took a while to get to that point, but we are at that point where individualism and self-determination is an equal opportunity for all people. There's nothing the government needs to do to impede or lift either way about rugged individualism. And the fact that we can't agree upon the most basics of shit is disgusting, because what do you want? You want a roof over your head, clothes on your back, full belly, and your family has a future. That's all America is, and that's liberty in general. That's why humans have always had to come together in a collectiveness, because there was always external dangers. But at the same time, we understood that if Igor the caveman or the bushman wants to go somewhere and go out, strike out on their own and do their own individual thing, that's their life-born right to do that. And that's the problem with our current duopoly, is we can't even agree upon the most basic of facts of what every human being wants. And that's all I have to say for tonight. And that's my synopsis of the Elon Trump battle thus far. But Lars, we're going to leave this to you to close it out. And we have to say our slogan. So Michael, Eric, and Lars, you guys all know the slogan. We're going to all say that in unison, because in the collectiveness.
No, that's a Marxist BS if I ever.
Yeah, I was going to say socialist, but we're going to say that. But we're going to pass the mic to Lars in his closing statement about where and what or whatever you have to say about.
I think what I want to leave everybody with is that there was a recent poll done that said 1 in 5 Americans believes that violence is the answer to our political problems. And I think that number is growing. And I think that number is going to continue to grow until we have a free market in American politics, until we allow people to have their voices heard, until people feel like that they have a voice in the system and that they're being heard and that they're being represented. All my life I've been voting for Congress people, and I've never had one person in Congress in my entire life that I voted for win. So I've never felt represented in Congress, period. Right. And when you don't feel represented and you don't feel like you're being heard, there's only really one option. And that's the resort to violence, right? And so what we need to do is we need to allow for those people to have their voice back, for them to be represented in America. And that is my mission right now, is to create a free market in American politics through Voting Rights Foundation and through more voter choice. We need to level the playing field and allow for all candidates to run, and make sure that those people are allowed to represent people. Right. And right now we don't have that opportunity, and it really doesn't matter what we do as far as forming new parties or running as parties or any of that stuff. Until we unrig our election system, we are not going anywhere but to more violence. And I say that both the George Floyd riots and the January 6th were primary examples of people's feeling like their voices aren't heard. And that was on the left and the right. It doesn't matter where you're at. You're in the middle, the left, the right. There's so many people that don't feel represented and don't feel heard. And they just want to know that there's somebody out there in America working for them that has their back, right? And we need to allow for candidates that can come up and have those people's back, because right now there is no option. There is no choice. We need more choice in American politics. Thank you.
Amen. Amen, brother. Well said.
That's word. This has been the Black Powder Podcast, the only true libertarian podcast, the only podcast, and I will say this in a bold-faced fashion, that truly believes in individual liberty, and you have the right to your life as long as you're not doing any harm to others. And I want to thank my host, Eric Parker, Bold Liberty, Michael White, one of the best people in Arkansas, and most importantly, Lars Mapstead. This guy is a icon upon our generation as far as leading the liberty movement, not just in talk, but in action. And he's doing things. And that. Yeah. And that is a major thing right there. If I could use a Trumpism, that is fifth grade reading level, so to speak. I jest. Nothing against you, Trump people. I think you have a place and voice within our libertarian movement, as well as certain liberals. And, now that I've isolated groups of people.
Yeah. You pissed everybody off. Okay.
I can't stand.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Delatory.
As usual, as we sign out of our podcast, we want to tell you in unison on three. Oh, on one.
Come on, man. You messed up.
Marcus, you got one job, man.
3, 2, 1. Live free.
Or die.
Or die.
There you go.
As usual, you guys stereotype because you have